You'll be learning about building symmetrically and creating components while you create your first structure, which is based on a temple design. To start, make sure you're using the template feet and inches. We're going to start by building the base for this temple, which is a 50 by 100 foot rectangle. And you're going to pull this rectangle up by 2 feet, create a 2-foot offset, and pull up the center by 2 feet. The next step is to create a stair detail at the front of the temple. So I'm going to reorient my view to get a better look at what we're doing. We're going to be using the line tool, which looks like this pencil, and it just draws a line, a single edge, and we're going to draw from the midpoint of that bottom out along the green axis 1 foot. And notice how after you hit enter, you're still drawing an edge. So we're going to go to the right on the red axis 5 feet, then on the green axis to the edge. There we go. And we're going to do the same, and we completed a shape. You saw that surface turned dark gray, and we no longer are drawing on that surface, so we're going to go from the end point to the right 5 feet, or to the left 5 feet, and then back to the surface. And we're going to erase that middle edge. Now we're going to use the push-pull tool to pull up by 1 foot. And we're going to orient our view so we kind of looking at the temple straight on. This is our first stair. And we want to make a copy of this stair and bring it up here. Now, there's an easy way to just simply repeat this and make a stair up top, but we want to practice with the copy and move technique. So to start, we're going to use the selector tool to select just the stair, and that's how we're orbited at a good view, to select just the stair and none of these edges up there, and notice that our entire stair is selected. Now I'm going to orbit to a view kind of like this, so I can see what I'm doing as I move up along the blue axis. Now I want to make an informed move along the blue axis. I'm going to move, but before I click anything, I'm going to hold down the Alt key so that I know that I'm making a copy and moving the copy. So I'll click that endpoint once and pull up along the blue axis. I can release Alt now, and I'm going to move it up 2 feet 6 inches. Right, I'm moving one axis at a time, and I'm using, I'm making moves with dimensions there. And then I'm going to move back along the green axis, and I'm going to move back 2 feet, and move down 6 inches. Notice that it knows I probably want to move to face, like SketchUp guesses that, but to be sure, you want to wait and move on the blue axis. I'm going to move down 6 inches. There we go. And that's perfectly aligned. And that could take you a little bit of time. It takes some practice to get right. Just be patient and make sure you select just this stair, and you're moving one axis at a time. And I knew, because of the height of this was 2 feet, that I first needed to move it up 2 feet 6 inches. If I had just moved it up 2 feet, it would have gotten kind of snared on the stair, since Python, or I apologize, SketchUp uses sticky geometry. So I had to move it up a little bit further, move it back, and then move it down. I knew this was 2 feet as well. And to give our stair a little bit more detail, we're going to draw some lines. We're going to use the pencil tool for that. We'll draw along the green axis to the edge there, and down along the blue axis. And we're just adding some detail here. Make sure to use your axes when you draw. There we go. And that's our finished stair. So now we're going to work on our columns. And we're going to use the guide tool to make a 6-inch offset for the columns. So to do that, you select the guide tool and make sure you guys have the large tool set open. That's View, Tool Palettes, and you want to make sure there's a check next to Large Tool Set. That's how you see this. And we're going to create a guide point 6 inches from the end. So I selected this corner here and I'm moving back 6 inches along that edge. And same on this side. And then I'm going to use these points to create these guidelines here. Alright, and then on this face itself, I'm going to create a 3 by 3 foot square. And I'm going to use, does that look right? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to use the Move tool. First, I've got to select my edges, so click and drag to select these edges, and I can hold down Shift to select these two. And then I'm going to use the Move tool. I'm not making a copy, I'm just moving the shape by the end point and moving it to match up with those guide points. And I can either erase those guidelines or I can go Edit, Delete Guides. I'm going to use the Push-Pull tool to pull our column base up by 1 foot. And then I'm going to create more guidelines so we can find the center of the square. Alright, now I'm going to use the Polygon tool to create a 12-inch polygon. And I know we haven't used this tool yet, so the way it works, you click it, and then you can just type on your keyboard how many sides you want. So you just type 12 and hit enter. And notice at the bottom right corner of your screen, it has changed the number of sides. We're going to start at the intersection here, and we're going to make a 1 foot radius polygon. Right. And again, we can delete guides. And we're going to actually make little circles, circle tool, 2-inch circles at every corner. This gets a little tedious, but... And notice after you make the first, SketchUp kind of knows that you want each to be the same size. So I can actually see here that it understands and it kind of snaps to the 2-inch circle. But I could also type in 2 inches for each of these as well, whichever you find easier. Alright, and once you have all of those circles, this is how we get the sides of the ribbed sides of our column. You are going to erase the lines within the circles. Alright, these kind of V lines here. So we're going to use the eraser tool and just go around and erase all the lines within the circles. And once you're done with that, we're actually going to erase some more lines, and it's going to erase these kind of outer circles here. So you're left with just a shape that looks like a bite has been taken out of it. And if you can imagine pulling this shape up into 3D, it's going to create this ribbed effect on the column. Alright, so now we're ready to make this column. Orbit to give it more of an impressive view here. And we're going to pull up the shape 12 feet. Pretty good. Okay, and now we just have to make the top of our column here, and the way that we're going to do this is we're going to make a 6-inch guide from our original square. And we're going to make another 3-foot by 3-foot square. We're going to pull it up by 1 foot. This is again the top of our column. Oops, okay. Gonna get a good view to select just the top of the column, just that square. Let's use a little angled, so let's try again. It's kind of tough with the orbit view here. We want it straight perpendicular lines. So pan and orbit so you get a view like this, and that could take some time, so be patient. You can select just that. Alright, and that's worked. You can see that with the orbit here. We have just the top selected. And we know it's 6 inches away from here. We want to move it by the bottom corner, by that bottom endpoint, we want to move it up. Ooh, that's why you always move on the axis. That was kind of moving far away. You want to move it up. Not want to let us do that, so we're just going to hit escape. There we go. We're going to try to move it from this angle here up along the blue axis. Oh goodness, this is tough. Let's try this. Let's try moving it forward along the green axis to get it off of that face. We're right along the red axis, so we're moving it 7 or 8 feet, let's say. Get it off of this face. And now let's move up. Yeah, there we go. Up on that blue axis. We know we need to move it 12 feet because that's the height of the column. We actually need to move it 13 because it's the height of that box plus the height of the column. So we'll move it 13 feet. Alright, and because we moved it off of the face that I was sitting on, you'll notice that the bottom actually does not have a face to it. So we'll use the line tool and go around. It just made a line from there to there, and it sealed off the face for that upper base there. Okay. There's a couple ways that we could do this. We could make a guideline from here up to help move this over, but I remember we moved it kind of 8 feet this way. So let's, and that initially it was 6 inches away. It's a lot of math, but let's try to do it this way. So, oh, got a double bar shape. No, we got to move it to the red. See if we can use this as an inference point. There we go. So I just hovered over that end. Now I want to move it right along the red axis and also straight up from that inference point. So again, let me show you how I did that. I hovered over this corner with the bottom right corner of the shape selected. I hovered over this end point here, and then I moved up along the blue axis, and you can see that dotted inference line, and up until it snaps so that I'm moving along the red axis to that point as well, using both the red and the blue axis. And now we have the top of our shape there. Of course, there are many ways to have done that. And now we want to make copies of our column down the length of the side. Before we make a copy of the column though, we are actually going to select just the column in its entirety. Again, this takes time, be patient. Okay. Our pan tool, our orbit tool. There we go. And see if we can grab just the column there. It's not seeming to wanna. Nope. There we go. So I just got a view where I could easily get just the column or the top of the column in that selection box. And it'll give us just the column there, and we're going to now make this a component. And what that's going to allow us to do is we're not going to have to use that kind of obnoxious selection tool technique to select the column. Kind of letting SketchUp know that this piece is its own kind of structure within the structure. So edit, make component. We're going to call it column. And now you see those blue lines. So if I click away and I click, the whole column is selected, as opposed to an individual face or edge. You want to orient yourself, get a view similar to this. And we are going to use the Alt Move procedure to get 20 columns, each 7 feet apart. So this is like how we did it with the pipes. So you use Move. Hold down Alt and select the column, and you'll move along the green axis. And the first thing you're going to do is select how far apart you want it. So you want 7 feet apart, and then you type X for times, and times 20. Alright, and then that gives you all of your columns down to the edge. And what's cool about the components, or making it a component, is that I can edit just one of the columns, and it will actually edit all the columns. So to do that, you actually have to double-click to edit one column. And let's say I wanted to make the top base a little bit shorter. By lowering one of the top bases, it actually lowers all of the top bases. So I'm actually going to leave the top base alone, but I just wanted to show you that. It's pretty neat. Okay. Now what we're going to do is use the Alt Move. Okay. To move this column over. So hold down Alt, click make a copy, and let's say, let's try 46 feet, 6 inches. Oh no, that's not right. Let's undo that. Let's see this. Do this math here. So this is a foot long, 6 inches from the side. This whole thing is 50 feet. So let's make sure and pull it from this side. Let's try 41 feet. 42 feet. Ah, that's where my math went wrong. This is not 50 feet. This is only, in total, 56 feet, since we have the 2-foot offset here. So that's where my math went wrong there. So we're actually going to move this over. Along the red axis, 42 feet. And so that way now you have the 6 inches, and the 6 inches makes 1 foot. Each of these is 1 foot, so that makes 2 feet, and then all together with that 42 in between, we get the 46. All right. So if you know the distances yourselves, as you build, you can make really precise movements. You just got to make sure you realize which dimension you're talking about. So this bottom one is 50 feet long, but this top one is only 46 feet long. Okay, we're going to do the same procedure that we did on the left side with the right side. Hold down Alt. And 7 feet apart times 20. Alright, we got our beautiful set of columns. The next step is we are going to add a ceiling, and this is going to be a 46 foot by 146 foot ceiling that we're going to put up 2 feet. So to do that, I'm going to move over to the side here, make a rectangle that is 46 feet by 146 feet. And I'm going to use my push-pull tool and pull that up 2 feet. I'm going to double-click this shape and move it. First, up along. I want to move it up along the blue axis, and I want to use that endpoint as a reference point there at the top of that column. There we go. And now I want to move it along the red axis and use the top of this as my reference point. Alright. And there we go. The only thing, we got to move it forward a few inches there. See what happened there. There we go. Again, this takes patience, and it could take multiple tries. So don't get frustrated. Just give it your best shot. Don't give up. And then we're going to create the second roof, which is 50 by 150 by 2 feet. To do that, we're going to use the offset tool up here. We're going to create a 2-foot offset. There we go. We're going to erase these inner lines. And notice, I'll do that again just so you can see that again. I created a 2-foot offset, but I made it outside of the original shape. And so it's actually, the frame is outside the shape, which you can do. And then I'm going to use the erase tool, or I can delete those lines either way. Sure. Oops. Causing some mishap there. So we'll just pull pull up our ceiling by 2 feet. And I just drew a line from here to here to make that surface. And erase those top lines. Alright. The last thing we're going to do, we're going to add a slanted roof. And to do that, I'm just going to use the pencil tool to go midpoint to midpoint. And we are going to move up along the blue axis, and we're going to do that 4 feet, 7 inches. And that, my friends, is our finished temple. But you know what? Now that I say it's our finished temple, I think we could add a little bit more detail in this top part of the roof. So we're actually going to create some offsets on all the faces of the roof and add some detail there. So I'm going to create a 6-inch offset going in the right direction. And use the push-pull tool to push in by 4 inches. And that just creates kind of that nice detail there. We're going to do that on all sides. That shouldn't take too long. I got my zoom tool right. Okay. Six-inch offset. Push it in by 4 inches. I think I actually did a 4-inch offset on the sides. Might look a little nicer. But that's just taste. Shouldn't go 4 inches. Let's look on that side. Yeah. Alright. And this should be your final product. Zoom out here. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you take time to make some edits of your own and mod it out as you will. Make sure to save your work. And good luck.